Hey, where he says, he got me right before we started. He said a really funny joke. Darn it, Greg, good work. I love it. Glad to have you beautiful people in. I'm Crazy Man, otherwise known as Father Chris. Welcome to Friday's episode of our Crucifixional live stream. We are so glad to have you beautiful people with us. I'm going to try to stay focused because he was funny. I won't tell you what he said, but it was funny. We've been talking this week about the requisite effort. You have been called. You have a purpose. You watching right now, you have a purpose. God gave that purpose to you. You may not know what it is. You may need to go discover it. You may have lost it, or you may be on track with it. Either way, you have a purpose. And that purpose that God has given you is to make your highest contribution, the most positive contribution to the world, for God's sake, right? Not just for your sake, and not just for the sake of the world, but God has asked you to do something. Now, to go get that, it doesn't happen with mediocrity. You have to give the requisite effort. 100%, 100%, 101%. You got to give it all. To do that, as we said on Tuesday, you got to get up early. Can't waste the day away in bed. On Wednesday, we said how you have to have you got to find that purpose and that focus. You got to have it. Yesterday, we talked about giving the effort of action, not motion. So let's follow that purpose. The things we do in our lives, the day-to-day, let's go towards the things we're after, not just making noise, moving around, stuck on social media or news outlets or whatever it is we may be doing. Today, we want to talk about perhaps the most important, or at least one of the most important aspects of filling ourselves up so that we can make that positive contribution to fulfill that purpose. And that is to be men and women of prayer. Now, as we think about praying, it's a beautiful thing. I can't tell you anyone I've ever met who says, "Oh, praying stinks," right? Even people who are not faithful, they talk about meditation, which is their, maybe distorted sense of prayer or how they want to pray. But for Christians, especially for warrior saints, we have to be men and women who are devoted to prayer. I mean, it has to be a part of our life. But if you're anything like me, which I hope you're not, but if you're anything like me, sometimes prayer is a struggle because things get in the way. And here's what I mean. Sometimes you wake up early in the morning and you want to say your morning prayers and, well, there's so many distractions. Maybe you make that terrible mistake of checking your email before you say your prayers, right? If that happens, like it happens to me, you're going to be sucked into a vortex of nothingness immediately. Likewise, at the end of the day, we go home and have dinner and get ready to go to sleep, whatever it may be, and then all of a sudden we're like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired, and we crawl into bed and we fall into a deep coma-like sleep without ever having said our prayers. It's very easy to get lost, or maybe even in church, distracted in prayer. Have you ever been in church and all of a sudden there's a crying baby, or someone's cell phone rings, or the priest isn't giving a good sermon, all of a sudden your mind starts wandering? Happens to me too, right? It happens to all of us. And that distraction from prayer leads us to throw our hands up or wash our hands and say, well, that's it, I didn't pray very well. I'm gonna check the score on the games during, football season or whatever it is, and not offer ourselves to prayer. I mean, it's a temptation that happens to all of us. To bring this rambling to a close, I want to say this. If you are going to put in the requisite effort, and give me 100% to give back to the world, you must be men and women of prayer. And you must therefore also give the requisite effort to praying. That means, as we said very simply on Tuesday, get out of bed early. But let the first thing you do, before you touch the phone, before you touch the computer, before you check the email, before you look at the Facebook, before you go to Insta or any other, distraction, say your prayers. They don't have to be long. Whatever your prayer discipline is, the rule of prayer, the things you pray, make sure you get them done. They don't have to be long. They just have to be consistent. And likewise, at the end of the day, when you're tired, get those evening prayers in. And again, the temptation may be to crash and just go to sleep. And sometimes you may try to convince yourself, I'll pray while I'm in bed. And then in the midst of your prayer, you might be like in the middle of the Lord's Prayer and all of a sudden you doze off and you wake up the next morning. This is beautiful. Nothing is more beautiful to me in my mind than falling asleep in prayer. However, we have to give the requisite effort to God and to make our prayers count. So I would suggest don't pray in bed. Maybe kneel by your bed or go to a prayer corner or a designated area for your prayers. But when you do it in bed, you're going to fall asleep. I do it too. Give God that effort to make your prayers count. As you are focused on your purpose, you're getting out of bed early, you're in action, not in motion, you're working towards a goal, you're trying to accomplish the things that you've been set tasked to do, trying to give back to God. Make sure that you are strengthened and built up by having a solid prayer life. That means you got to be disciplined about it. You can't do it in bed. You can't be distracted by it. You can't be distracted by the emails and all that rest of that stuff. You got to focus on it and get some. I'm telling you, when you are praying regularly, I'm going to wrap it up here, you're going to find a profound change in your life. You're not going to be able to pray the world into the shape you want it to be. That doesn't happen. But you are putting a filter before your eyes through which you look at the world. Praying to change the world only comes through your actions. But that filter in front of your face, in front of the way you look at the world, will cause you to act differently, to make that change you want, to fulfill that purpose you've been set unto, to accomplish your goals and dreams that you're going after. If you are praying regularly, you will see very quickly that filter becomes a lot more pure. And with that, you're able to see better and you're able to go get some. Does that make sense? So be dedicated, devoted men and women to prayer. Warrior saints. I mean, that's why the second half of our metaphor, saints, are men and women of prayer. Don't let it slide. Don't give a Bush League effort. Make it count. Remember, it doesn't have to be long. It's just got to be consistent. We love you, beautiful people. It's been a fun week. As always, visit us at warriorsaints.org and subscribe right now to the Way of the Warrior Saint. Join us on this journey. It's been a blast for us, and for all those people who joined, we want to invite the rest of you to come along on the ride with us. We will be back on Sunday, 9 and 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time for our worship, Orthros and Divine Liturgy. Hope to see you there. And again, of course, we'll be back Monday for some more teachings. Love you. Have a great weekend. As always, keep walking on the way of the Warrior Saint.